Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss. Welcome to MFSN. We have a great guest today. I'm excited to have him on. I've known him for many years. You might know him from the NFL. You might know him as an actor. He's a fitness guru. Let's welcome Pete Koch. Pete, how are you? Pete. I've been seeing you in about 30 years.
I think that's about right.
I saw you at long story. Then we'll get into it. But thanks for coming on. I'm excited for your Chiefs. Huge for you. I know you played there for 3 years, and I saw you at Venice Beach. You were one of those guys that were working out at Venice Beach almost every day, getting tan, looking great. You were that guy.
Well, so back then I was, I was playing football in Kansas City, and I was single, and they were pretty. Most teams were pretty relaxed about where their players were going to live in the off season. The requirement was that, hey, we're not going to see you for 5 months, and just stay fit, and come in shape, and we're going to be pleased with that. And I lived in LA, and I loved every minute of it, and that just created a cycle. I was actually with the Chiefs for 4 seasons. One season, the very last one, I had 3 orthopedic surgeries, so that kept me off the field.
Horrible.
But no, I'm proud of the time I spent with Kansas City, and I couldn't be any more pleased with to see them back in the Super Bowl.
No, we're happy about it. And let me. You're a kid. You were born in New York. You went to school in Maryland. How did you become an actor? All of a sudden, you're in show business. You're starring these huge movies. Your first movie with Clint Eastwood, which is unbelievable. Unbelievable. No, I mean, did you have acting experience at all? Did you take acting in college at Maryland? Did they have a great acting college there that I didn't know about? Tell me how you got into college. Tell me how you got into it in college. Or
yeah, it wasn't. I wasn't acting in college, but I will tell you this story. When I was growing up, as you say, on Long Island, I worked out. My high school had a great football program, but a pitiful a gym. It was just a happenstance. Old Universal multi-station in the boiler room in the basement. It was terrible. I saved, I worked odd jobs, and I saved my money, and I bought a membership to a bodybuilding gym in nearby Limbrook.
Okay.
And this was in the 70s, because I knew that to realize my potential, that I really needed to get stronger, and I really needed a bodybuilding gym, and all that went with that. I was that skinny kid reading the magazines. Literally that kid in high school. And while I was there at Rab's gym in Limbrook, a guy that was about 10 years older than me became like a big brother and a friend and a mentor. And he was an aspiring actor and working odd jobs so that he could go to his auditions in New York City. And he said, one of these days I'm going to move to Hollywood. Fast forward, I go to University of Maryland, and I play 4 seasons there. We win the ACC championship. In my senior year, I was the captain of that team. Very proud of that. That was the Boomer Esiason ACC championship team. So very proud of that. I go to the NFL. I stay in touch with my buddy. I always like to give him credit. Perry Rosen, rest in peace. He's not with us anymore, but he did do what he said he was going to do. He moved to LA at that same time that I started to play in the NFL.
First round draft pick, Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes, exactly right.
Pete, I should introduce myself. I haven't even introduced myself yet.
I'm sorry. I'm
Dr. Dan Radner. I'm Ross's partner on this show, but you and he go way back. I was a fan. I was like 12 years old when you were playing on the Chiefs, and I'm not saying that to date you, but I was so excited about those teams. My Browns were good then. I'm from Cleveland, so you're familiar with those teams, the Bernie Kosar years. Did you know you wanted to be a football player? Is that something you grew up thinking about?
Football player, and every fiber in my body, went towards that. I was very fortunate. At the high school I went to, New Hyde Park High School, we had sort of like co-head coaches, I should say. And one of them, and they were both fantastic. One of them was John Kalo, who played his college football career at the Naval Academy. He was the center for Roger Staubach. And he really instilled in us, the discipline and the grit, and also a lot of good technique that benefited me. I knew I wanted to play football. The acting thing I didn't figure out until a few years later.
Okay, so Pete, we have a picture of you. First movie, Clint Eastwood. You were the Swede, iconic role. I mean, people still know you as the Swede. I mean, it's crazy how people still remember that role. Let me show the pic real quick so you can say, oh, yeah, I remember that movie. Courtney, can we show that real quick? The picture of... So there you are. I actually auditioned for that role, but I was too big for the role. They said
that's where we met.
Yeah, you said, listen, you're too big, Ross. It's embarrassing. You overpower Clint Eastwood. It's not believable. He could beat you up. But that's more even people's. I mean, that was your first acting role. You acted with an iconic actor, Clint Eastwood. How was that on the set? Were you nervous? I mean, I know you're an athlete. You're cocky. You're co-captain of your Maryland team, first-round draft pick from the Bengals, but you're working with Clint Eastwood. How was that?
Yeah, I was scared to death. Yeah, but I'll tell you how. When you think about it for a second, Clint Eastwood was a big movie star back then in the mid '80s. He's a living national treasure. He's
Agreed.
A world icon. Now, I mean, he's just moved from Mount Rushmore to into the heavens, in my opinion, and probably the opinions of most. Who knew? But here's why. But here's one little glimpse into inside. How is it that Clint Eastwood is so wildly and universally praised and admired, not just for his acting and directing, but just as the person that he is? So we did most of the filming at Camp Pendleton in San Diego, which took the place of Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, just for simplicity and budgetary reasons. So here I am. It's the off season. I land the role, and they say, I ended up working on that movie, and they said, well, you're going to work on this movie for 5 weeks. One of those weeks was in Puerto Rico, but the other 4 weeks were there in Pendleton. They say, listen, you start on such and such a date. It's like a Tuesday. And they said, if you want, that the production would like, why don't you drive down to San Diego the day before and get there in the afternoon and go and check into this hotel. When I got there, there was a production assistant waiting for me. And he says, go ahead and check in, Pete. But they'd like you to come over to the set, and I'm going to drive you over there. So I jump into his car, and we drive through security and everything. And we get onto the Camp Pendleton. He drives over to this section. We're driving over the hills and everything. We get to this section, and there they are filming some scene. I don't know. And they said, just hold on here. And there's just a crew standing around, and they got me here, and I see Clint. Now, of course, he's also the director of this film, and he's directing the action. And, and I'm watching I'm just excited as hell, and I'm anxious, and I see, and then there's cut, there's a break in the action. And then Clint talks to and blah, blah, and he starts walking straight for me, like a beeline for me. I'm probably 120 yards away. And he comes straight over, goes, hey, Pete, Clint, and I'm so glad to have you here. We think you're going to be great. We're going to have a lot of fun in the next several weeks, man. Thank you for coming down and joining us. He's thanking me.
Wow.
That's unbelievable. I mean, I'm sure your nerves calmed down. You weren't as nervous
right
after that. You weren't nervous to work with them. I'm sure it calmed the nerves, and that's an act of a professional. You know what I mean? I mean, not many guys would go out of their way and say hello to somebody that has never been in a movie before. They usually ignore people like that.
No, that's what a guy like Clint Eastwood is like. He understands where he sits, and he understands that if he's going to make you feel comfortable, you're going to do better. That's leadership, and actually, that's a big part of what I know about you. You're really into leadership. I was really impressed as I looked more into you and your background. You have all of these different parts of your life where you try to bring out the best in people, and you try to help them be leaders. And you said that your dream is to engage your guests with these questions that challenge the status quo and generate provocative dialogue. You are a person who really fosters growth in people. I'm a psychologist, so I can totally relate to this.
Wow.
But
good for you.
yeah, well,
Against a psychologist, he's one of the best. He's analyzing you as we speak. Pete. So,
Well,
so
then did I keep
I'm
going?
analyzing
Well,
Ross.
I mean, he already
Well,
took your mind apart. So you're in
Let
trouble.
me jump in and tell you of the many psychology and self-help books that I've read. Look, I'm a dopey guy with a liberal arts degree, but I read and a book that I came across that was recommended to me a long time ago. I don't know, 15 years ago. And the guy that really got my head working this way, it's benefited me so greatly, is Martin Seligman. And he's the guy that coined the term positive psychology. Who knew that you could, train yourself to think in a certain way positively, obviously, and then it would, but the benefits of this are untold. And so I read the book. I've got the book. I got this follow-up book. And that got me on a path that was really important. So then one of the messages that I like to kind of put out there to people, I try not to be preachy, but just to say, I would like in some small way to give back. And what I'd like to help people do is be the best self that they can be. And a lot of people say that, but you have to back it up with what I call items that you can put your arms around that are usable, tangible. It was Einstein who said, try not to be so much a man of wealth, but rather a man of value. So nice. I started this thing called Making You Better 30 Seconds at a Time. And I've made over 250 of these videos that run from 30 to 60 seconds.
I've seen them. I subscribe to it. And if you don't subscribe to it, subscribe to it now. Pete Koch, he's on all the social medias. You can subscribe to him right now. It's worth it. He can motivate you. And what he does is incredible.
That's just my way of giving back. He's very humble. I don't pretend to be, reinventing anything, but if I can give somebody a fitness tip or a little bit of motivation that makes them get off the couch and get a little better, lose a little bit of weight and get a little bit stronger and feel a little bit better about themselves and believe in themselves a little bit more, and it's free. And there's no downside to it. That's
amazing.
And, that's my way of giving back.
That's great. So let's talk about football. We're here to talk football.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's something tonight. There's a show premiering on ESPN, a 30 on 30 on one of your bosses, Al Davis. You played for the Raiders. Last year you played, and I've had friends that played for the Raiders, and they have everything great to say about it, and they love Al Davis. How was your experience with Al Davis?
Outstanding. And I'm so glad you asked that because, it's just one of those, it's just the damnedest thing that, I played for the Chiefs and the Bengals and they had famous, sort of both those organizations had famous rock star historical owners. Mike Brown invented the playbook. Mike Brown invented training camp. Right. He invented the 40-yard dash. He invented, the organization of the playbook. I mean, the guy was a giant. And so he owned the Bengals and the Browns, before that. Mike Brown, I played for him. Then I go and play for the Chiefs, and there's Lamar Hunt. Without Lamar Hunt, we still have the AFL and the NFL. We don't have a merger. But Lamar Hunt was such an instrumental part of merging the two leagues. But it took also Al Davis, as it were. And so that's why the Chiefs and the Raiders are these, very dominant, both established in 1960, original AFL, original leaders into the merger of what became a merged and unified NFL. And so Lamar Hunt, and then wouldn't you know it, I finish with the Raiders, with the Los Angeles at that time, Howie Long, Marcus Allen, those guys were my teammates. Yep. Raiders, and my experience with Al Davis was I was impressed more than I could tell you. He's just such an. In fact, and it's no surprise, but he was far more of a hands-on owner than any other owner that I had. I think he's clearly historically the most hands-on, and I mean at practice, talking to the players and coaches every day during practice, giving constructive input. And for those who don't know, he was the head coach of the Raiders, and I believe 1961.
Yeah.
Let me ask you the question. Could you help his son with his haircuts? I don't think he knows how to, I don't think he knows the hairstyle. I don't think he knows what he's doing. Could you advise him?
Mark.
You have great style, Pete. You know that. You have great hair.
Thanks.
You have the beard. You look like a model half the time you're on screen. We're all jealous of you here, but can you help him with his hairstyle?
So, hey, here's Mark. I'm going to give you 2 paragraphs on Mark Davis, whether you want it or not.
Because I want to hear this from you. Go ahead.
Okay, so just a little bit of background I think people would appreciate. So Al Davis was and his wife, and forgive me, I forget his wife's name, and she's still alive. Was married, very, very long time at the time of Al Davis's death. They had 1 child, right? Mark Davis, and
correct.
And Mark is just a little bit older than me. He's in his early 60s. He's got this, unusual kind of bowl haircut. But Mark Davis was not part of the organization when I was with the Raiders. There was a very long time where Mark simply was not involved with the organization. I think it's very well known that he had a fractured relationship with his father. That was blessedly that it got healed at some point in the 90s. Mark came back when I was long gone into the fold of the Raiders organization. And then when Al Davis passed on, his son was ready to take the helm. One thing I want to really make it notable for the Raider Nation out there and understand something. I played for 3 teams, so I can tell you a lot about those organizations. There's obviously, when I was in the league, there were 28 organizations. I'm a former president of the NFL Players chapter, Los Angeles chapter of retired players. I know a lot of guys all over the place that play for all these different teams. What Mark Davis has done amongst the many things that he's done to improve the organization since his father passed, not the least of which is taking them to Las Vegas and building a monolith that they're going to play football in now, the most beautiful stadium. What he did was he made a gigantic effort, and I mean not only effortful in terms of work and hiring a staff, but spending money to create an alumni organization that says if you ever played for the Raiders, and I was only there 1 season, so I don't take any great amount of credit for being a Raider for a long, long time, but anybody who ever was a Raider, he says once a Raider, always a Raider. I have a brick that weighs 25 pounds with the Raiders logo on it. He sent one to every living Raider.
Oh my God, Pete!
To memorialize.
I'm sorry to interrupt, guys, but finish up on this. We just have to hear that you're razor sharp about your observations about people. We have to finish up on this, but I want to hear that. Finish up. Yeah.
So Mark Davis, and I actually ran into him in L.A. Actually 2 months ago at just a chance. I don't want to say what was going on, but just a chance meeting. He was in town for business, and I was like, he didn't even see me. I walked up and introduced, because I've only really gotten to know him because the Raiders have an off-season alumni reunion in Napa that
every year
tethered to the training camp, and they've been doing it the last 5 years. And the Raiders pick up the entire bill.
I have friends that are played for the Raiders. My friend Rick Cunningham played for the Raiders. He goes every year. He invited me last year, but because of the pandemic, I couldn't go because
you got to go.
Stadium. I was invited to that. Ross the Boss is going to be there.
If he invite you again, just go. We'll hang out, man. You'll love it.
You know what? Before we let you go, I want a prediction from you about the game on Sunday. Tell me the score. Go.
Score. I'm going to say I like the Chiefs to win. I think they're going to win by maybe more than people think. But I'm going to say 35-42 Chiefs. I'm sorry. Did I say Raiders? I mean the Chiefs will win. The Chiefs will win. I think authoritatively. I think as the game goes on, I think it'll be like a weight bearing down on the Tampa defense, and the Tampa's going to get their points. They will get their points. They have
Ross the Boss has Kansas City too. I love Mahomes. I love Tariq Hill. I love the whole team.
Sorry, Ross. I gotta shut you down because we got to keep on schedule. But Pete,
I know we're leaving.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Pete.
Because
it was great seeing you.
You're a great person, also, and I can feel that. So thank you for joining us.
And Pete, I also want to have you back on very soon. I want to talk more football, more stuff about psychology with Dr. Dan. Thank you. And
my pleasure.
I'm Ross the Boss. This is MFSN. We're happy to be here. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody.
Head over to YouTube and watch MFSN, please. We will love to see you there. Thank you, Pete.